Welcome to the new Campaign Trend podcast. If you're looking for the Business of Politics show, don't worry, you're in the right place. We've changed our name, but we're still going to keep giving you the behind-the-scenes look at the professionals who make politics happen. In this audio diary, I want to give you a quick recap of why we made the change and what to expect. So first of all, it all started back in 2016 when I started sending Learn, Test, Optimize, a weekly newsletter that included the must-reads of digital, data, tech, and politics to a few friends after the Rubio for President campaign wrapped up. We just sent our 400th edition of that newsletter, and it has grown into something that people around the world really rely on for getting their news and information. Then in 2019, I started Best Practice Digital, which is a blog and weekly newsletter with actionable tips, tactics, and strategies to help campaigners run more effective online campaigns. Then in 2021, I started this podcast, the Business of Politics show. In each case, I was interested in creating a content format that was specific to our niche of political campaigning with an emphasis on digital and technology. And so over the years, those three brands grew, and that also meant three different infrastructures. It led to a lot of confusion and distraction on my part. So on one hand, people didn't really know how to introduce me or how to say what I did. You know, they say, oh, you should sign up for Eric's Best Practice Digital newsletter, when that audience may have been more interested in, say, Learn, Test, Optimize or the Business of Politics show. So this sort of brand confusion was one thing we wanted to overcome. And certainly for me, it was distracting from creating the content to maintain three different websites, three different email platforms. And some of that's of my own doing because I like to experiment with the different technologies and platforms that are out there for publishing. And we've come through a little bit of a renaissance lately with newsletters. But one thing has really always been important to me is that we didn't want to be part of someone else's platform. So always maintaining our own infrastructure. So as these audiences have grown, I dug into the numbers and I saw that, these three audiences should have a lot more overlap than they do. Fast forward to today, where earlier this month, we launched Campaign Trend. You can visit it at campaigntrend.com. And everything that we're already doing, Best Practice Digital, Learn, Test, Optimize, and the Business of Politics show are going to keep going on there, but with the new name. So the podcast is now the Campaign Trend Podcast, just to keep everything really simple. And I hope this is an opportunity for us to be able to create more new and different types of content in a way that some of the other structures didn't allow us to do. As a listener, I wanted to share with you some of the considerations that came into making this decision. So the first was, what do we call it? There were three really strong names that people knew: Learn, Test, Optimize, Best Practice Digital, and the Business of Politics show. I ultimately made the decision to walk away from that and start a new brand altogether. That certainly is putting a lot of brand equity to the side where, we had these really good names. People knew what to expect. They were familiar. We're just setting those aside. I kind of like the new canvas that this allows because we can do a lot of different things under the Campaign Trend umbrella. So I think it gives us a lot more flexibility, and it really speaks to the emphasis of our content on political campaigns and innovation. It's always really difficult to name something. And so pretty proud of the Campaign Trend name. And of course, we were able to get campaigntrend.com. So all of that's really important. And, people may miss some of the other brands as well, but we'll see how that plays out. The second thing I needed to think about is what platforms should we use? There are a lot of suites out there for creators. You could go into Substack. They've got a whole slew of tools for content creators. I'm reluctant to join a platform like Substack because they're always going to be introducing new features, and that sort of changes your ownership of the content. Ultimately, I decided to keep it independent as we always have, and we might plug into other platforms here and there. But I think it's important especially for longevity of something like this, to maintain our own content, our own ownership, and use open formats like web, email, and podcast. So ultimately landed on Webflow. It's what I've been using to build most of my websites these last few years. It is really easy to use once you figure out the system. The challenge is it doesn't really have a whole lot of integrations in the way that like a WordPress might. But I got kind of frustrated with the bloat that was coming into WordPress and always having to upgrade plugins and make sure things were patched. And that's not what I want to be doing. I want to be creating content for our audience. So the trade-off there is Webflow has a little bit less flexibility, but it gives you a really polished product and is just sort of effortlessly maintained. Of course, we're going to continue using Buzzsprout for our podcasts. It does a great job hosting and not something that users see. Switched our email provider to something called Audienceful because it integrates with Webflow, so we can publish in one place to both email and web. So a little bit of a time saver there. Another thing I had to think about was the business model. Obviously, our content has always been free. It will continue to be free. A lot of people have asked me to, you should monetize this. You should be making money off of this. Part of the value is what we do for the community and sending up a flag to rally around for those of us who are trying to make campaigns more effective with technology and digital marketing and data. So I ended up deciding that, we're going to keep everything that we're already doing free, but we're going to add some new stuff that will be available to paying subscribers. So this is a new model for me. If you want to become a Campaign Trend Insider, go to our website, hit that big red subscribe button. And for just $10 a month, you're going to get access to exclusive insights and analysis that I'm going to start writing, kind of different than what you've typically seen. We'll also be doing events, both in person and online. And as that community goes, we'll probably add more benefits there too. So if that's something you're interested in, please go check it out. It's just $10 a month. I think it's a real bargain and it doesn't really sell well, but you're also supporting all of this other content that's going on. And of course, we have support of sponsors as well from time to time. So if you're in a position to sponsor, would love to have you there as well. So that's the business model, the platform, and the decision to create yet another brand. But this time it is one brand to promote, and I think it's going to help us really focus. Now, because of this change, there's some more opportunities that are available. So the first is, like I said, more flexibility. We're going to be able to create new types of content that didn't really fit into the other buckets as before, but they're still going to be here. So one thing that I'm really excited about is summarizing academic research. You can go to campaigntrend.com right now and see a couple of articles that I've written that basically take a really dense academic research paper into something that I think will be of interest and turn it into something more accessible. We'll also be playing around with more analysis. And then, of course, because it's one platform, one brand, one system, I'm able to focus more on creating the content, getting more people to learn about it. It was always really hard and awkward for me to try and get people to sign up for 3 different things through social media and stuff like that. So with being able to focus, I think we're going to grow. We're going to be able to create more content. So what's next? I need your feedback. What do you want more of? What do you want less of? The best way to get in touch with me is Eric, ERIC, at campaigntrend.com, and send me your thoughts. I'm also really interested to hear from you about what are some other content creators that you think are worth emulating in the political space. The fragmentation of content is real, and so I can't possibly keep on top of all of the good ideas or creative concepts that are out there. And so I'm looking for ideas and inspiration, and I need to hear from you. Sometimes podcasting can be lonely because you never know who's listening. I see download numbers, and sometimes people tweet at me, but I know you're out there. I know you're listening, and I appreciate you sticking with me. I promise that we're going to keep delivering really good episodes in this podcast feed. You don't have to do anything to subscribe. It'll just change over and you get all of the previous episodes. So if someone sent you here because they love the Business of Politics podcast, don't be disappointed. You can still go listen to all of that. I want to say thanks for being a loyal listener. Please keep in touch. Eric@campaigntrend.com is where I want you to send your ideas, thoughts, and suggestions, and look forward to seeing you in the future. With that, we'll see you next time.